I've done the best I can over this last year or so, but I'm just one guy, and there's still some people out there who want to disparage and defame Wii U as being worthless and laughable and not worth a second thought, and it's going to suck, purely on the basis that it's probably not going to be the most powerful 8th generation system when its eventual competition comes to market. And that being an 8th generation system, being a great system with new technology and that totally changes the way people play games and pushes the game horizon further into the distance, that's purely about having the most horsepower, having the biggest numbers, the biggest spec sheet, most impressive spec sheet, and it's just all about the numbers and being the most powerful. Well, I've tried my best to explain it in several different ways, but I'm going to try again to give people the opportunity to try to understand this on their own terms and not have it forced down their throat when E3 2012 comes along. So, remember the 5th generation? Remember that generation with PlayStation and Nintendo 64 and Sega Saturn and several other systems? Remember what happened in that generation? Remember how PlayStation came basically out of nowhere and totally destroyed Nintendo's position of being the dominant player in the home console space? Remember when that happened? Remember how Sony did that to Nintendo with a system that was theoretically only half as powerful as Nintendo 64 on paper? Do you remember that? That was still in the days of the bit wars. Remember that PlayStation was only 32 bits and Nintendo 64 was 64 bits. They had been planning this amazing system with these powerful specs and silicon graphics, and it's a 64-bit system, and PlayStation was only 32 bits, and Nintendo 64 more polygons, more powerful. And what happened? PlayStation, not they totally destroyed Nintendo's dominance in that generation with a system half as powerful. Because one of the key reasons they were able to do that was because PlayStation had an optical drive while Nintendo 64 still used cartridges. So, a less powerful system with newer, better technology, better suited for the demand for the current age. Nintendo 64 was more powerful. If all you cared about was having the most raw horsepower on your spec sheet, you had no business whatsoever playing PlayStation. Your system of choice was Nintendo 64 if that's all you cared about in terms of what you wanted from your system. But PlayStation was able to do things Nintendo 64 was never able to do. Things that directly impacted how games were made, how much games cost, what games were available, what developers were able to do in their games on a less powerful system, because more horsepower alone does not make a machine more advanced or more fun or better adapted to the consumer. I've explained it before how more horsepower does not make a machine more advanced. It's about what the machine is built for, how it handles, where it can go. So at this point in the game, the public has yet to see the full story of Wii U and what this system will have to offer, and it has a lot to prove. But for those who want to say preemptively that the system is going to be worthless, that it's going to suck, that it's not an 8th gen system, just because it's not likely to have the biggest numbers on its spec sheet when the eventual competition is revealed, then why don't you go back and reevaluate your decision to buy and enjoy PlayStation or PlayStation 2 or the Xbox 360 if you played and enjoyed any of those systems in those respective generations, because those systems did not become beloved platforms for gaming by having the biggest, best spec sheet and being the most powerful. And Wii U, no matter what, has an opportunity to do the same. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.